Hello, Basics Bitches. Welcome to another episode of Muscle Monday. I'm your guide through the iron jungle and companion on this journey to a stronger you. Let's break down the basics of strength training with the precision of a weightlifting ninja. Lace up those lifting shoes and prepare for a weekly dose of muscle building wisdom. We believe strength isn't just in the body, it's in the mind, the heart, and the dedication to becoming a best version of yourself. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Call Me Skitty. Thanks for joining me today. All right. I am the couple of announcements. We'll just get out of the way here really fast. Basics on Demand is live for the first 50 people. I have people still continuously hopping in here. It is basically like your Netflix of training programs, as well as like other guides and resources, old master classes that I've done that will help you, that are mindset focused, nutrition focused. Currently, the price is $29 a month to get in. There is a link in the show notes. Once you're in, you just get loaded in to my on-demand. There's a community where you can ask questions. Lots of great questions happening in there. Of course, the majority of those questions are definitely around mindset and nutrition, which makes sense because it is honestly the bigger piece of this. But I love the fact that you can ask your questions as well as have access to some programming. So when you walk into a gym, you're not wondering what the hell you're supposed to be doing. You're able to keep track of your progress, that's what we're going to talk today about. And why is this important? And then I'm also doing a masterclass. If you hop in the masterclass, only on the podcast will this masterclass stay $33. Everywhere else, it will be $55 once the branding comes out. This is a podcast called literally Consistency Over Perfection. This is for you if you are struggling to show up in being consistent with your health. I mean, it's weird, right? Like, sounds kind of like, I don't know, the name of my business, right? So here we go. Are you ready to start to let go? Are you ready to let go of the shame and the guilt starting over each Monday? Are you ready to rid of the all or nothing mindset with your weight loss? Are you ready to learn how to show up consistently, even at the end of the day when you don't feel like you want to? This is going to be a 5-day masterclass series, and I'm going to teach you how to do this. You're going to get tangible things that you can start implementing, thinking about, and going through in order to see what is going on and why are we struggling and what is this sticking point, so that you can literally move through that piece to start showing up consistently for yourself. We do not have to show up perfectly. Literally, that is my mission 180. So, if you don't follow me on socials, also do that, because I'm talking about this during that as well. Okay. So that being said, again, only for my podcast, this will stay $33. If you click the link in the show notes, it's $33. Once my branding comes out, that class is going to go to $55. But if you're on the podcast and you click the link in the show notes, $33 and you're in. This masterclass will take place in Telegram. So once you log into it, or once you sign up for it, then you will get access into my Telegram channel, and we will have conversation and all the great things in there. So, all right. That being said, today I kind of touched briefly here on what I was going to talk about as I was talking about BOD and why this is so important. Why keeping track of your progress in the gym is so crucial to actually making progress in the gym. Okay. We talk a lot about progressive overload. And if you're not overloading your muscles, you're not stimulating your muscles, they're not going to grow. They're not going to this, they're not going to that, right? At the end of the day, like I had mentioned, like last week, it's like we walk into the gym, we don't have a plan. We don't even know what we're supposed to be doing. We don't even know what muscles, honestly, are supposed to be working. We don't know where we're supposed to be feeling things. And it is a barrier for us to even get into the gym. It's like, oh, I don't have a plan. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Cool. Basics on Demand actually gives you that plan to walk into the gym so you know what you're going to do. But once we're in there and once we're actually doing something, we have to understand how then to make progress and to keep track of that progress so we know if we are actually improving. Here's what I'm going to say, right? How many times, we can change this into many different ways. Like we can implement this in many different facets of our own every single day life. So the one that I'm going to use is this: grades, right? Each year, if you haven't had kids, you still have gone to school, I'm sure at some point, where we have some grades. And I'm not saying, yes, I know I might have some homeschool people in here, but there's still benchmarks that you're looking for to make sure that your kids are moving through, right? Okay. So I'm just going to apply this to like regular school, but Understand it's still applicable, even if you don't go to regular school, even if you're a homeschool mom, okay, it's still applicable. So each year your kid is supposed to be at a different level, right? They're going to start here. It's how we know when we're supposed to go from addition to adding and subtraction to adding, subtraction, multiplication, right? As you continuously understand and you start to get down these simpler concepts, you start adding in more, okay? And the way that we see if we're ready to add in more is by a benchmark test, by a quiz, by a whatever. And we're keeping track of that progress as we go through classes and go through school so that we can figure out, where are we? Oh, I'm at a C. Oh, I should probably, maybe I need a little bit more help in this specific thing. I didn't do great on my last test and I should probably, but we don't know that if we don't keep track of it. We don't know where we might be struggling if we don't keep track. We don't know where we might be exceeding really well if we don't keep track. And the same thing goes for your lifting. If you're not keeping track of what you're doing in the gym, then how do you know where your struggles are? How do you know where you're like, okay, this actually, I need to maybe put a little bit more focus on my legs versus my arms, because man, my arms really seem to be making really great progress and they're shaping up really nice and all things. But man, my legs just seem to be really far behind. And I'm the opposite of that. My legs progress very quickly and they shape very quickly, especially when I'm in a fat loss phase and I'm losing fat, because that's where I see it very quickly first, versus my upper body. My upper body takes a lot longer to respond. And having that information and understanding it is the difference between getting pissed off, mad, angry, frustrating, and quitting, and going, okay, how can I use this data to help me make a change? Or do I need to make a change? Or do I need to do the thing, right? That how does, instead of taking that data and getting mad about it, we can take that data and actually utilize it and make it work for us. We can't do anything, we can't change anything without the data if we don't know what the fuck we're supposed to change or what we're supposed to do, right? In all assets of this, across the entire board of this journey, that is why data is so important. That's why food data is important. Scale data is important. Training data is important. It's like you have to have all these different pieces of the pie in order to get the pie. Otherwise, it's like you just got the crust and you're like missing like half the things. It's like, well, that was great crust, but like it would have been way better if it had the filling and the topping, and then you cut it and then you serve it on you're only getting one portion of this, right? And always go back, and I'm always going to reiterate the fact that like training again should be about moving your body, getting strong, like making sure that you are in a place that you are healthy as you age metabolically, right? We want more muscle on our body than fat because it's more metabolically healthy for our bodies and for our health. It's what we want to have on there. And if you're not keeping track or keeping like track of your progress in the gym, how do you know that you're actually progressing the way you need to go, right? Instead of doing this person's random swipe Instagram workout and you're just, taking a little piece of paper and writing it down, and that's fine. But then you have to do that same IG workout like for 8 weeks or 12 weeks to see just in that one little swipe IG thing if you can get movement and forward progress in that lift, right? And that's just one workout or one training session. This is why this is so important. I can go back the way I track mine, because I didn't have an app when I started tracking. I actually used a book. It was a pencil. I literally had this it was like a 10 by 8, an 8 by 10 book. And I carried it around the fucking gym with my little pencil. And I was like, and I wrote in it. And that's how I kept track of all my stuff. There was no app for me to track in. Now, after I completed that first year, I did shift into more of a different app tracking tracker. And the only reason that I don't actually use Everfit, which is what I have my clients track on, I would, but I have so much data already in my other tracker, like so much data. And I tell you, I've used every tracker you could possibly imagine, like every fucking tracker ever. And so I use an app called Strong, and that's what I use. But I only still continuously use it because that's where I started tracking all my data. So I have over 800 workouts tracked in that app. And that doesn't include anything else that I've done outside of that app. So like there was one time that I was going to, I tried a different one and whatever else, but here again, like it didn't have any of my data in it, right? And the cool thing about this is so cool, right? I had one client that we worked together for 2 years almost, and then they ended coaching because they were pretty good, right? But then they decided that they wanted to come back for programming. Well, guess what? All your data stays in my app. I just archive you as a client, but all your data is there. So the moment I load you back up, I was able to get them right back in, and poof, all their stuff, their pictures, their scale weights, all of their training information, everything where they had been and what they had been using weight-wise was all already in the fucking app. It was all there. So he didn't have to, oh my gosh, I got to go back and figure out where I was and do it. It's all there. Which is why it makes sense just to keep using the same thing that you've been using. So if you haven't been using something, I highly recommend Basics on Demand for you to hop into so that you can start making progress in the training. You should be making, if you are in the gym and you're not tracking your progress, you are literally not doing what you need to do. I love that you're in the gym, and that's awesome. And that's really, really great. But now that we're in the gym, we have to make it make sense. Otherwise, you're in there and you're literally you're like a floppy fish all over the place because you're not taking any next step. And getting into the gym is good, and then taking the next step is better. I remember even before I started my lifting program, I did this Diary of a Fit Mom. Totally do not like anything she's about now. But she was a program that I originally had started with. It did start to incorporate weights, but they were very light weights. And it was like a PDF, and I shit you not, it was like a 200-page thing that I printed off, hole punched, and put in a binder. And I took that. But there was nowhere for me to keep track of the weights that I was using. So I literally would write them in each week, what the weight was. And I had this little chart that I made for myself on each individual exercise in each training session so that I could keep track, like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. This is what I did. I didn't even understand in that moment why that was important. But again, I have literally no capacity to fucking remember if I changed the laundry. How am I going to remember what I did 8 weeks ago? I'm not. Right? And as your programming changes, and it should be changing, not as often as what we think it should, but as your programming changes and you say you remove like an exercise, and let's say we get rid of an accessory exercise, and then maybe 2 or 3 phases down the road, we put that accessory exercise back in. How are you going to remember what the hell you did 16 weeks ago, 24 weeks ago? That's like a half a year. Again, I don't have capacity or care to try to fucking remember those things. So what am I going to do? It's in the app. So I don't have to. The moment that goes back in the app, I can go back in and I can see what I used, which is so wonderful because I know, am I progressing? Because I'll tell you this, I should have at some point gotten somewhat stronger, whether it's rep wise or strength wise, so that I should be able to move up a little bit in weight. And I can see that I can do a little bit more than I did maybe 16, 24 weeks ago. That is the goal. Right now, here's another really prime example. Right now, like dumbbell bench press, okay? I'm doing 45s, that is so much bigger than where I had been. Like way bigger than where I had been. And that's cool for me to see because it's like, okay, I remember when I thought like 30 was heavy and 35 was heavy. And some of you may be thinking as you're hearing this, oh my God, she's doing 45s. And you're thinking, wow, that's so heavy. It is heavy, right? It is a lot, but I was able to see how I was able to progress to get to that spot. I can literally go back and scroll through and see like, oh man, look at that. Look at like 2.5 years ago, I was using like 25s. Like that's cool to see. And it's important to see that, yes, 2.5 years, you're going to be like, oh my God, 2.5 years and you've only lifted 20 pounds heavier. That's actually a lot for a chest press. So there's lots of important reasons why we should be, if you want to change your body, if you want fat loss. And I'm not saying that we're training for fat loss, but there is a key component. We can lose all the fat we want and still just look like a bigger version of ourselves at a smaller weight. And that's not really what we want. We want to change the way we look. That's going to require strength training. And the added benefit that you're going to get from that is all the extra things that strength training does for your body that you're not even paying attention to, like strengthening ligaments, bones, joints. So that way, as we age, especially as women, we stay strong. We stay strong. That is the whole point. So if you are not keeping track of your progress, if you are not paying attention to that, you need to be. Basics on Demand, get in there. My masterclass, $33 for anybody that listens to the podcast. I just decided that's what I was going to do when I got on here. So if you guys have questions about the masterclass, if you have questions about Basics on Demand, somebody literally sent me a question the other day. She wanted some more details about it. When you click the link for Basics on Demand, there is information in there on what it is and how it works, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't have more questions. I literally took a screen video and I showed her how it all worked and sent it to her. She was like, oh, that's simple. Let's sign me up. Let's go. I want the 3 months paid in full. Okay. I'll do that. Right. So it's like, you can still ask questions if you're not understanding exactly what this is or exactly if this is for you, right? Let's figure out what would work for you. Like, what do you actually need if you're not sure? So on that note, you guys, I hope you have an amazing Monday. It has been a great week, busy for me personally. So I'm excited to kind of settle back into routine. Summer is basically over here. My daughter started her lifting program this morning. So we were at school at 5:45 this morning. Woo! And we are back on it and we're off. So if you are headed back to school, I hope you guys have a great start to the school year for you and the kiddos. And I'll catch you on the next episode.